This week I want you to mess around with your markers. So I want you to experiment and practice mark making. Online you have these photographs of examples of boxes, and in your packet you have this page which has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 boxes. So you're going to take marker paper, you're going to lay it over top of these, and you're going to trace those boxes so that you have guidelines for what you're doing. It's also a good idea, especially because you're not at school anymore. I know that you're not as worried about school tables as you are about your mom's table, but I always use a sheet protector or a piece of plastic of some kind in between my drawing and the table so that I am not looking through and making marks on the table and ruining the finish. All right, so the finished product is something like this. If I were saying I wanted to do blue, I've also taken my markers and I've arranged them. You don't have to do it the same way as I do, but I bought a 60 pack an organizer that holds 60 markers. So the top row I have my grays, that's my cool grays and my warm grays, which you got last quarter. Then I have my browns and my woods. Then I go into warms, so I've got oranges, purples, and yellows in here. And then the last is my cools. So I have cool and warm and wood and grays. That's just the way I like to do it. It sort of helps me understand what's going on. I also have taken a sheet of marker paper and I have made marks from this onto here, so that I know, because everyone knows that you may look at the end of a marker and say, okay, this is this color of green, and then you go and put it down on the page and it's actually going to make, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, so this should be actually this color of green right here. All right, that really helps me as I'm like quickly looking for a marker. I can scan across here and be like, all right, what color do I want? And I can find it here pretty easily. It seems a little bit anal retentive, but there's nothing more frustrating than trying to work and having to dig through a bag of random markers, and you're not going to find the ones you want. You're not going to know what you have unless you've got some kind of a system. So if you don't use mine, that's fine. Create your own. A lot of people like the boxes that show all the markers with the ends facing up. I think that's kind of cool too. But you remember the first quarter we did this exercise? And I told you all how much I hated these kind of exercises where you're just making a mark and making a mark and making a mark. Well, this is to train your hand, right? The reason we want to do that is so that we can make these kind of marks. Notice how these are the same kind of marks as this. We're going from here to here with our marker, and we got to start and stop at the right place. I also have, besides the sheet of paper that I'm working on, another sheet of marker paper to the side of it. So this is a really big sheet of marker paper I have here. You have the smaller 9x12 pad. So you're going to want to have a sheet of marker paper next to the paper that you're working on so that you can make marks. Your paper is going to look like this when you're done, because you're going to be over here making strokes with the markers of all this stuff, just to know what kind of strokes it's going to make. All right, so let's say I want to do blues. I'm going to take my little chart here and I'm going to say I want a light blue and a medium blue and a dark blue. These blues are getting into green, so I don't really want to use them. I kind of want to use probably I want to choose, I would say, 4 markers tops, because this is not a very big space in which to do those transitions. So I'm going to take this, which is my darkest marker, and I make a mark and I lay it down so I can see that that marker makes this mark. I'm going to make this mark. I'm going to do this one. And then I want to do probably this one. Maybe I want to do this lighter one even. All right, I'm definitely going to limit it to those. That's 5 markers already. That's more than plenty to get me from here to there. All right, so part of color theory and part of being able to work with these tools is eliminating, right? I've eliminated 80% of my markers right there by choosing 5 out of the 60 that I'm going to work with in this square from here to here. So in order to make, I want you to do 1 page of this exactly, where you're going from light to dark, and then you're going dark to light to dark to light to dark to light all the way across. So this is how you do that. You start with your lightest color. I turn the paper to the side because I'm better at doing strokes across the page horizontally than I am at doing page strokes down towards my belly button. I take the marker and I chip in, and by that I mean this marker has a flat line right along here, if you look at it, right? And if I draw a mark like this, if I'm trying to draw up to a line, and I go with a marker like this, see how I'm getting this jagged edge along there? So I want to turn the marker so the flat part of the marker is up against that line and start that and pull away from it. Now I'm not going to pull all the way to the other side because I can't see what's going to happen over there, right? If I'm trying to work up to a line, what happens is the line goes behind the marker and I can't see where to stop. So then I'm getting this kind of a fuzzy edge to that. So in order to eliminate this kind of overhang or this kind of jaggedness here, I'm going to do one side this direction. I'm going to flip the page and work towards it on the other side, going that way until I blend it. Right? Now I'm still getting a little bit here where I'm not touching the edge, so if I want to line it, I'm going to take the narrow edge of this and just fill that right in. Okay? My next marker is a little bit darker, so I'm going to go over top of that with the next one. Now I notice that I have quite a hard edge there, so the way to soften the edge is to take the next marker lighter and blend it. When you pull the marker across this way, you're actually pulling some of the darker marker into the lighter marker. Now this doesn't look great right now because it's very wet, so don't judge this until it dries out. You're probably gonna have a lot of what I call marker juice. It's actually mineral spirits on the table, and if you get too much of that, it's gonna get really wet and runny. And you kind of don't want that unless you're trying to do a watercolor effect. So I'm going to recommend each time I go back to the marker lighter and I blend it across, pulling a little bit of the darker marker into the lighter marker, not pulling it too far. I notice down here I have a problem where I'm getting all sloppy on the edges. I'm not turning my paper enough, so I'm going to flip it over, pull it back in the other direction right there and right there. That helped. I know I've still got a ragged edge. I'm going to show you how to clean that up at the end. Here's my darkest blue. That's actually quite purple, isn't it? So I've learned something. This marker I might eliminate, or I might put next to my purples in the next round. It's not looking too bad though, actually. Let's see if I can blend it into this, have it look like I meant to do that. Yeah, that's actually quite nice. All right, so I've got something like this. I'm then gonna choose a marker that's in the mid-range. Yeah, so I've got all these markers. I'm probably going to take this one that's in the middle and I'm going to clean up the edges. I'm going to get the pointy end of my marker. I'm going to go along the top and I'm going to go along the bottom. a little bit ragged down there still, so I'm gonna go one mark lower. Just so that looks a little bit better. All right. I can, at the end of these, go back with my Micron pen, use the number 1 to outline them the first time. So now I'm gonna take a number 5. And if you want to be really specific about edging these guys, then this right here, we'll close it off nicely. Now, I've messed my markers up, so I'm gonna make a mark over here to make sure I've got the marker I want before I come over here and muck it up. All right, so there's a transition from one to the other. This kind of transition, as you can see, you're probably gonna be using your narrower markers. So if I go in here and I do that stroke here, I believe this is the next one. Yep. So this stroke goes next to it. Gotta keep flipping my page here because I don't want to get out of control. This is my third stroke. By putting the darker markers and working dark to light, I can pull myself more quickly because I don't have to keep flipping back to the lighter marker to blend it. But I also can't go lighter once I go dark. So I'm confident I can work that way. I'm gonna jump over the white. I'm gonna now go light. A little bit darker. A little bit darker. And if I get it too stripy like that, then I'm gonna have to go to the lighter one. Now maybe I'm gonna go with the point this time to sort of blend that edge, because this is a much more refined kind of thing. When I'm done, I'm gonna take the middle one and I'm gonna tidy up my edges. Sometimes I like to take the medium one from this side and I take a lighter one actually from this end. If I don't want that heavy end down there, I can do the lighter one at the ends here, but I'm not worried about that for you this week. I just want you to experiment with your markers.